All right, everybody, what is going on? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. We have made it to yet another weekend here, and once again, things are pretty quiet with the Seattle Seahawks. There's not a ton going on. There's not a lot to get into. No real rumors about contract extensions right now. No indications about Jadarian Price's rookie contract getting signed. Really haven't heard a lot in terms of actually discussable items. So we're going to get into another recent update from a division rival here because that's really all there is to talk about. And I do want to try to have something to say on most days, even during the dead part of the offseason. And yesterday we talked a little bit about Matthew Stafford, talked about his contract extension. So now we're going to pivot to another division rival and the contract extension that may or may not eventually happen. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks. And yeah, if you've not been paying attention to the Cardinals, I don't blame you. There's not much going on with the Cardinals right now to be worthy of paying attention to. I think that as Seahawks fans, we're all kind of in a place right now where we're thinking, we need that team to actually do something to earn our respect before we give it. And there's no reason to believe right now that that team has anything that we need to be scared of for 2026, especially with stuff like this. But basically, Jacoby Brissett, yes, Jacoby Brissett, that Jacoby Brissett is holding out. And I don't know if Jacoby Brissett is the worst player in NFL history to hold out, but I certainly can't think of another instance where a player of a Jacoby Brissett caliber is actually making a fuss about a contract to the point where it seems like he's not going to participate in off-season work. And I want to stress again, this is Jacoby Brissett. There are players out there, there are quarterbacks out there that might be somewhat justified in not participating in voluntary off-season work. And I I don't know if that's a good thing, but sometimes it can be an understandable and forgivable thing, but not Jacoby Brissett. So obviously the Cardinals are looking at Brissett to be their starter in 2026. And Brissett, knowing that he is kind of earmarked as the starter, wants more money. And the Cardinals have to this point not been willing to give it to him. So here we are. He's in the last year of his deal, sub $10 million, and he doesn't think that's right. Doesn't matter that he's not a great quarterback, he's a starter. There is a significant gap in negotiations, according to Josh Weinfuss. And because there is a significant amount of space between what Brissett wants and what the Cardinals are offering, there is a real question on if Brissett will report to the OTAs. He has already not participated in the offseason program. Now, the offseason program and OTAs are both voluntary. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with a quarterback, even a quarterback like Brissett, not participating in the offseason program. But the OTAs, now you're starting to get into uncomfortable territory here. So it does seem like there's something going on here. And this can't go on forever, but can it go on long enough to be a problem for this team? If you like sports, then the best way to make them even better and more exciting is using the Prize Picks app, where it always feels good to be right. Prize Picks makes daily fantasy simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players and build lineups with a few taps. Whatever sport you're into, and obviously we are now firmly into the NFL offseason, so we're all about baseball. We got some basketball, we got some hockey, whatever it is you like. Prize Picks gives you a fun way to stay locked in while you're watching. Definitely make sure to use the promo code HMA. Prize Picks is hooking up users with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. If you use that promo code, that is HMA. I've had a great time on Prize Picks so far, so definitely get on over to it, check it out, and make sure to get your lineups. And don't forget about Team Picks, where you can pick winners, spreads, and totals on any major game. So download the app now, use HMA, and get on over to Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And remember, always gamble responsibly. According to Jeremy Fowler, a ESPN guy and somebody that I've talked about before and is pretty credible in these circles, Brissett is prepared to miss OTAs unless he gets his new contract. So there's no guarantee that'll happen. Now, again, I want to stress the OTAs are voluntary. And like I said, Brissett can't necessarily do this forever because the new CBA from the NFL dictated that players could not hold out without extreme and unreversible financial punishments. Brissett is going to lose a lot of money if he holds out into involuntary off-season work. So there will come a point where he just has to blink, and the CBA is set up so these teams don't have to really care if the players decide to throw a fit here because there are things they can do to protect themselves. Now, you do get into uncomfortable territory at a certain point. If the player is truly unhappy, then he can go to camp and just not do anything. And technically, that's not breaking the rule. He can show up for the team and then just say, oh, I don't feel so good, and then just never play, fake an injury, basically. There are things that players can do, but I think most players would be unwilling to do that. And I don't know if Brissett would be willing to do that. I think that's a line that, especially if you're a quarterback, you're not going to be willing to cross. Now, you look at Brissett's contract. He's got a $9.2 million cap hit for 2026 and nothing beyond that. So it's understandable on some level why Brissett would want a new contract. He's got no security beyond 2026. He's probably just going to hit the market next year because the Cardinals will probably have found something else by 2027. And these two things, the low cap hit for 2026 and the lack of long-term security, make him feel like, hey, I'm a starting quarterback. I'm not competing for a starting job, right? This isn't like Geno Smith in 2022. And what was his deal? Like, it was 1 year, $7 million if he got the starting job, but he was competing for the starting job. Brissett doesn't seem like he's competing. He's the starter. So it's understandable, even if you accept that Brissett is not a very good starter, and he's not. There's certainly no equivalency between him and Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or even a Sam Darnold or a Brock Purdy or Jordan Love or even somebody who you're not necessarily super hot to trot on, like even a JJ McCarthy. At least he's young, and that's on a rookie contract anyway. But the point I'm trying to make is, yeah, you're not terribly excited about having Jacoby Brissett as your starter, but he's not bad. He's actually pretty decent. There are some positives to his game. He's good at avoiding turnovers. He can play on time. He can play on schedule. There are some things about Jacoby Brissett that are on some level appreciable. It's just not that great, but I can understand and appreciate the fact that he feels like he should get paid a little bit more if he's going to start and they know it in 2026. Like, you look at this depth chart, I don't see anything here that is offering real competition for Brissett. Minshew is a viable backup, but he is a backup, and Carson Beck is a third-round rookie. And I don't think either of those guys are seriously pushing him for the starting job right now. So it does seem like something's going to be going on here. Now, here's the question. As Seahawks fans, do we care at all about this? Like yesterday, I talked about the Stafford thing. And even though it didn't change anything for the 2026 Rams, as Seahawks fans, we still care because it does affect our biggest rival in the division right now, the team that we beat in the NFC title game last year. There is an impact on a team that we are in very close competition with. All 3 games we played them last year were competitive. Very. Came down to the final minute, final seconds even. In one case, literally the final second. So the Cardinals, I mean, we're going to beat them twice next year if Brissett's the quarterback, if Minshew's the quarterback, if Beck's the quarterback. We don't really care. So what is the actual impact here if Brissett actually decides, you know what, I'm going to be a pain until I get paid, and then the Cardinals decide, no, we don't want to pay you. Or maybe they do pay him, and then they give him long-term money, and then they're stuck with him for 2027, and that changes plans for 2026. I don't know. Here's what I would say. Brissett is pretty clearly a guy who is good enough to win at least a couple games next year, right? He's a competent quarterback. At some point, somewhere, you're going to win a game or two that you don't expect. That's just how football works. Because Brissett can play. He's not great. Maybe he's not even good, but he'll break through. I don't know if I can say that about Carson Beck. If you throw Carson Beck out there as a rookie, 0-17 doesn't even really feel like a horror story anymore. That feels like a real, I don't want to say probability, but a very strong possibility. Like 0-17, if Carson Beck is out there just thrown to the wolves in front of decent but not really particularly notable offensive line with okay weapons, maybe we'll see. We'll see. The weapons could be good. It depends on what Harrison does this year, but there's some really, really dark stuff that could happen with this team with Carson Beck at the helm. So if you start Carson Beck all year, you're almost definitely getting the number 1 overall pick. Brissett, maybe he knocks you out of that number 1 overall pick. So it's not like I think the Seahawks are going to lose to the Cardinals even if they have Brissett. So I guess what I'm saying is I hope this works out because Brissett might do just enough to keep Arizona out of number 1 overall. I don't know. I think I kind of just talked myself into it. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. Brissett could still be like 3-14 or 2-15, and that could still get the number 1 pick. It is something to think about, though. All right, let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. I know that it kind of feels like it doesn't really concern us, but it's a division rival. It's got to mean something. All right, go Hawks.